their side doesn't want cameras. I'm demanding gavel-to-gavel coverage because how many videos did Enoch show of me apologizing to the families and saying I believed it happened years ago?
Look, what I found in yesterday's presentation there as a spectator, what I found to be very interesting is this was probably the first time that anybody in that courtroom had actually watched InfoWars, had actually seen what you said. And if you watch what you said and you compare that to what the press has reported that you said, it's as if those two things are happening on two different planets. All right, because I watched that video sitting there in that courtroom end to end, and at no point did you in that video say anything like what they've said you said.
And these are the videos they're suing me for.
That's true.
I'm sorry for your kids. I believe they died. That turns into I'm sending troops to their houses. Brandon Tatum, great patriot, great spirit, is to be joining us in a moment. His Skype dropped. Mark Randazza, who is one of my lawyers and is recognized as one of the top free speech lawyers in the country, is here with me, and we had a big powwow last night. I'm not going to get into too much inside baseball here on air, but you were there when we said $1 attorney's fees, because we can't waive our right that comes through the state law. It's state law that if somebody sues you for defamation, then it triggers that the judge could give attorney's fees or whatever. The media spun that I was suing them. You're a lawyer. You can explain, because you were in the courtroom yesterday, not as my lawyer. That's Enoch, Mark Enoch, whose brother's Supreme Court justice, you name it. And he's one of the top guys. And he says on the facts and the law, 100% were there, as you've said. But then there's all this emotion and media manipulation. But you were there. And explaining this in the law, the law is triggered, just like they have in England, now here in Texas, that if someone sues you for defamation, it could be up to $100,000 in attorney's fees if they lose. The judge decides. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not exactly.
Okay, well, explain. The point is, we went and waived it all. The media is all there, and none of them reported it. Instead, they said, he's suing the poor people.
Right. How an anti-SLAPP law works is we have the American rule. The American rule means that if there's a lawsuit, both parties typically bear their own costs and fees. Unlike Europe, where if you sue somebody and you lose, you have to pay their attorney's fees. Now, what that creates is this perverse incentive. If somebody wants to shut you down for exercising your First Amendment rights, the process is the punishment. You just sue the hell out of somebody, and hey, on the eve of trial, you drop it. Or so what if you lose? Because if you've buried them in attorney's fees, you've done the job. Well, recognizing that that was a threat to free speech, certain states, starting with California, started passing anti-SLAPP laws. And an anti-SLAPP law allows you to take a First Amendment case, end it early. You file a special motion, then that case has to be decided right away on what's in the record at that time. And if the defendant wins, the defendant gets their attorney's fees back. So California passed one, Oregon, Washington. I was instrumental in getting one passed in Nevada. I've been working on one for Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Texas passed a pretty powerful one as well. There is no $100,000 limit. In fact, Texas, you not only get your attorney's fees, but the court can also issue sanctions. I mean, there was a case here about 2 years ago where somebody got $1 million.
And let's be clear, no one waives that. We did this.
I have never seen before in the history of an anti-SLAPP case where a defendant invoked the anti-SLAPP law, but then specifically waived their right to fees. Now, you've done that here in Texas. You did that openly yesterday, and also in the Connecticut case that I'm handling for you. We put that in our briefing. And
you think that would be news? No, instead, I'm suing the Sandy Hook parents. Oh, that's right. Oh, my God, that's 2-3 weeks ago, the Connecticut briefing, that I waived it. Oh, and I bet they're going to say I'm suing them with that suit in Connecticut, too.
Well, that's...
God, this is just...
That's the dishonesty in the reporting, I think, that people are saying you're suing them for $100,000. You're not suing them for anything. You're the defendant. So that's not how lawsuits work. And anybody who's covered...
it's like they come up and punch me in the head or hit me in the head with a tire iron. I go, I won't even block it. Do it again. And they go, he just hit me with a tire iron.
Yeah, it's more like you're hitting the tire iron with your face. So in waiving those fees, what you've done is, in this case, you have invoked the anti-SLAPP law to end the case early, but you have not taken advantage of, and you've actually waived one of the key benefits, which is the money. And I think that was a good idea because, nobody wants to, these people lost their kids.
You advised me to do it. Some of the other lawyers didn't. They just said, but yeah.
Well, let's not talk about what I advise you.
You can't get into it, yep.
Right. But I'll just say I think it's a good idea.
But I was told by others, they said, watch, they're not going to report it. In fact, you were in the courtroom. Enoch said when they said Mr. Jones waives the attorney's fees, but so we can still keep the anti-slap right to get it dismissed quicker, that's the law, $1. And the press went, ugh, because they knew they were going to lie. They're still saying today, I'm suing them.
There was a collective groan in the courtroom that I was really surprised at. I wish there had been TV cameras there because, yes, as soon as Mr. Enoch acknowledged that and said, Mr. Jones is waiving anything over and above $1, there was a tone over the courtroom among the people who were there to hate you.
And by the way, their side doesn't want cameras. I'm demanding gavel-to-gavel coverage because how many videos did Enoch show of me apologizing to the families and saying I believed it happened years ago?
Look, what I found in yesterday's presentation there as a spectator, what I found to be very interesting is this was probably the first time that anybody in that courtroom had actually watched InfoWars, had actually seen what you said. And if you watch what you said, and you compare that to what the press has reported that you said, it's as if those two things are happening on two different planets. All right, because I watched that video sitting there in that courtroom end to end, and at no point did you in that video say anything like what they've said you said.
And these are the videos they're suing me for.
That's true.
I'm sorry for your kids. I believe they died. That turns into I'm sending troops to their houses.
Yeah, and that was an accusation that was made by the plaintiff yesterday. There was an accusation that you had sent people to somebody's house. And then when we looked into the facts of that doesn't seem to be exactly what happened either. But, that's...
Well, was Rob Dew going, look, we're not saying it didn't happen, but why are they delivering food to another school and no food delivered for years? Or why do they say their house is a parking lot in Florida? We weren't saying where their house was.
Look, when you look at the actual video, you look at the primary source. I mean, when somebody has something to say to me about a broadcast or a publication, I don't want to look at a news article that tells me what that says. Why don't you provide me a link? I mean, a third-rate blogger would do that, would provide a link to the actual primary source and say, this is what the guy said, click here to see for yourself.
It'd be like saying, I said, hypothetically cover my mouth because it'll edit and say, murder all the Jews or murder all the white people or murder all, or N-word.
That's going to get clicked out, Alex.
You would show me saying it. I'm not saying that. Right. They'll do it, yeah. But I'm saying you would, Brandon Tatum, we got your Skype back. God bless you. With us in the next segment. We'll get into this. But you're hearing all this. I see you nodding your head on Skype because you said that's what you've experienced with InfoWars. They say one thing, you go actually see what I said. It's the opposite.
Yeah, man. The funny thing is I have people who were conservatives and people who agree with me on many things. And they say, well, no, Alex Jones says all this. And I say, well, show me the video. You prove to me that he's wrong about something. You can say whatever you want, but I remember watching way before the president was elected. And you were talking about how they were rigging the polls and stuff like that. And people were like, oh, he's just being so dramatic and all this other stuff. And then you see them showing polls of Hillary Clinton up at 90%. And then president won the presidency by a landslide. Somebody's lying and they want to paint it on you. But in fact, these other people are the ones telling lies and you are articulating truths. And if anybody watch any of the stuff that you say, and this is what I tell everybody that watch it, I say, go and you find a clip, you find a point and you prove him wrong. If you can do that, I'll believe you. Other than that, you need to listen and pay attention.
Well, God bless you. And I don't want to make it all about myself, but they're coming for me. Yeah. I mean, this is like they're invading a country. It's like every show, every channel, even Fox.
Look, they're not just coming for you. I mean, that you.
No, I agree.
Once they get a very good target.
Once they get me, it's everybody.
You're a very good target because this is it's a propaganda war, and they did not take a lot of conservative voices seriously. And once this election happened, I think that the left freaked out. I mean, I see a lot of people who agree with me politically who say I can't believe that this happened. How did this happen? And they didn't realize, they might be polling people about
so
what
now they are taking
TV.
it serious. Let's talk about that and where we think it's going. Brandon Tatum's our guest. Stay with us.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
He goes to jail. He goes to jail. Lock him up.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
President Trump talks about how we need to be trailblazers, how we need to be outsiders, how we need to expose the current stagnant system that's been suppressing us. wanting to make us poor so he can consolidate control and buy us up for pennies on the dollar. That really is the globalist system. And he's absolutely right. So it is an honor to be persecuted by the globalists, and to be lied about and to be demonized. But it's an honor to draw them out so we can show who they are, so that you take action and you take the country back politically, culturally, spiritually, financially. Another hero is Julian Assange, who's been in solitary confinement in a closet-sized room. They converted a closet with a bed and enough room for a laptop. They took that away over a year ago. No communication with the outside. It's all been one hell of a time for him, and he was very bipartisan in that he exposed Republicans, he exposed Democrats. He very judiciously released information that exposed criminal activity of the NSA, criminal activity of the CIA, illegal spying on Congress, illegal spying on Trump, illegal spying on me. But they had my home number, my old cell, my new cell, and my office line. And they had Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago private apartment number that I had. Total proof of Obama spying on Trump and yours truly a decade ago. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the real deal. And America's had freedom so long, people don't recognize real tyranny when it hits them right between the eyes. But everyone needs to go to Infowars.com. The article is right up there at the top of the page, red link. Petition to Trump, pardon Julian Assange. And we go over the fact that he engaged in regular journalistic activity and did a wonderful job being advised by top journalism professors around the world, and that he was very, very fair about what he did, and that you need to send the message that he's a hero. Now, I know they claim he's a Russian agent with no evidence and all the rest of that garbage, even though they've released stuff on Russia and Israel as well, and China. But it doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do. And you wouldn't have gotten elected without Drudge. You wouldn't have gotten elected without what you've done, obviously. You can't say it's any one person, but without any of us together, it wouldn't have happened. So we need the president to pardon Julian Assange. And you said in a speech, I don't care who got her illegal server. It's illegal. It's about what she did that's wrong. Don't change the subject. Go back to that instinct, sir. But you told Assange, release it. You said release more stuff. And he's in the crosshairs. And he needs to be pardoned if he's brought back to the United States. Look at that. Everybody else is just like yellow or clear. That's because it's been denatured, it's been watered down. We didn't do that. You think I would metaphysically sell you something that is the very best I can get? I'd rather go to hell than do that. I will only give you the maximum best info, the maximum truth, the maximum product, because I want that goodwill. What I do to you, I do to myself. Don't you get the big secret? You ever seen fish oil look like that? No, you never seen that, have you? And this little jewel right here is solid, liquid consciousness. Look it up. Find out how even the FDA and the government admits fish oil is incredible. The number one thing anybody can do for themselves is take good fish oil or krill oil. Just like our information is dynamite, so are our products, InfoWarsStore.com.